We're back! Mitchell Griffith here with Griffith Goods and Spirits, and today we're making spaghetti so good that it'll survive a shootout between Italian grandmothers. We're following Clint Eastwood in one of his most recognizable roles as the man with no name, as we do the good, the bad, and the ugly. Want more great Griffith Goods and Spirits recipes? Well, hit us up with a like, subscribe, and then click that bell in order to be notified for the next family dinner. As we always do, let's start with a cocktail. Today, we're gonna be doing a reverse Manhattan. That just means we're gonna double up the vermouth. So we're gonna do 2 ounces of vermouth instead of 1. We've got our wonderful Smoke Wagon bourbon out of Las Vegas. We're gonna do 1 ounce. We're gonna do a couple dashes of our aromatic bitters. Do 4 of those. And then we're just gonna toss a little bit of ice into our stirrer here and give it a quick stir. We're just gonna give this about 20 revolutions around, just enough to cool it off. We're just gonna drop our strainer in, and we're just gonna pour this straight into our rocks glass here. And what I've got here are a few of our little whiskey rocks. They're just granite rocks that are frozen. We're gonna drop them in here because we don't want this to dilute any more than it already has. And then I'm gonna use our spoon, get us a little bourbon cherry, drop that bad boy right in there. And to top it off, I've got a little bit of sage. Give it a slap to release some of the aromas. Drop it right on there, and you've got your perfect reverse Manhattan.
You did a good job for me. Worth $500.
One thing I would recommend while we're doing this recipe is this oil guard. You can just toss it right over your pot so that oil isn't just spraying all over your kitchen. We've got our reverse Manhattan done. Now it's time to start on the spaghetti. What I've got is some really good high quality olive oil. This is gonna be the most important part to your recipe. We're gonna add in about 3 ounces of this to the bottom of our pot. And then I'm gonna start off with something that's gonna be pretty non-traditional. I've got some chicken thighs here that I'm just gonna put down and let brown up. What these do is that they're gonna add a good bit of depth to the flavor of your spaghetti. I'm gonna let these just go ahead and get browned up. Once our chicken thighs have got some good color to them, we're just gonna flip them over and let them brown on the opposite side. As these have browned up and gotten some good color to them, we're gonna remove them, put them on another baking sheet, and don't worry if they don't seem completely done, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna add them back to the sauce here in a little bit, and they're gonna fully cook through and add some more great flavor to that sauce. We're gonna set these to the side, and then we're gonna add in our sausage and ground beef as well.
When you have to shoot, shoot, don't talk.
We're gonna add in our sausage and our ground beef. We've got 1 pound of sausage here, and we've got 2 pounds of our ground beef. We're just gonna break all of this up as we're adding it into the pan and allowing it to brown up. Go ahead and toss all this right in there and allow those flavors to get to know each other.
I'll kill you! I'll kill you!
Such ingratitude after all the times I've saved your life.
There's a few major do's and don'ts to this recipe. One major thing that you want to make sure to do is you want to strain out all the juices from your ground beef and sausage, but do not get rid of that juice, because after we finish browning up the onions and cooking the tomatoes, we're going to add that juice back in, and it's going to add an incredible depth of flavor to our sauce. Now to start off our sauce, I'm going to add back in just another 2 ounces of our olive oil. And I've got 1 full yellow onion diced. We're gonna add that in, and we're just gonna stir it around until it's nice and browned up. And then we'll add in our garlic and our tomatoes as well. Now that our onions have gotten some good color to them, it's time for the messy part, hence the poncho. First off, we're gonna add 6 ounces of our tomato paste in here. What this is basically just concentrated tomato flavor. We're gonna mix this around and let that blend in with all of our tomatoes in here. Just go ahead and get it nice and warm and mixed up. Now time for the messy part. What I'm gonna do is just pull out each tomato. That one's not whole, but for our whole tomatoes here, pull it out, just squeeze it in my hand to make sure that it gets nice and squished up. We don't want these to just be like a puree. We want these to be a nice chunky tomato sauce. Be careful because it will go everywhere. After adding all of our tomatoes to start our sauce, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna microplane some of this garlic just to go ahead and give it some great flavor. My rule of thumb is 4 small garlic cloves to every can of tomatoes or 3 large ones. We've got our bouquet garni here, which is just tied together with a little bit of butcher's twine. I've got thyme, rosemary, and a bay leaf. Just makes it a little bit easier for you to fish this out at the end.
I mean, our partnership is untied. Oh no.
Wait.
Not you. You remain tied. I'll keep the money and you can have the rope.
Now what I'm gonna do is just do 2 short little runs of orange zest in here. What it does is it brings out a little bit of the aroma and the floral patterns of the tomatoes that you normally wouldn't get. Then of course, we're gonna salt and pepper this to taste. You're gonna wanna add a good amount of salt just to make sure that this gets seasoned well. And then our pepper, just crank this until your arm starts to get tired. After adding all of our salt and pepper in, we're gonna come back to all those juices that we strained out from the beef and the sausage and just add that right into our sauce. And then we're gonna add in 1 cup of this 7 Moons. It has a wonderful earthy flavor to it while also maintaining some nice fruity undertones. We're just gonna go ahead and pour all that in. And now we wait. For the approximate runtime of The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, just about 2 hours and 41 minutes. But halfway through, what we're gonna do is we're gonna add back in our protein just to let those flavors marinate together. And then just 30 minutes before, we're gonna add in 1 more diced onion for a little bit of texture to our sauce. We've allowed our sauce to simmer for just over an hour. And at about the 45-minute mark, we added back in our chicken thighs just so they could get some of that good flavor in them and also be really easy to shred. Whenever we hit that 2-hour mark, we're gonna add in the rest of our sausage and ground beef and allow it to simmer for another hour, and then we'll add in our onion. Our sauce has been going for just over 2 hours, and while it's been cooking, we've been breaking up our chicken thighs in here and getting our ground beef and ground sausage all mixed together. And what we're gonna do now is we're gonna heavily salt our pasta water just to make sure that our spaghetti is nice and seasoned as it's boiling up. Now that we're 15 minutes out, what we did is we just added 1 full diced onion to our spaghetti sauce. That way it'll have a little bit of difference in texture to it. We just added in 2 tablespoons of basil, oregano, rosemary, and thyme. And we're just gonna go ahead and mix all that in. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna toss all of our spaghetti in our pot to boil. We're gonna dice up all of this fresh basil to add into our sauce once we kill the heat. We just finished off our noodles and plated our spaghetti and spaghetti sauce. We've got our spaghetti on bottom, our hearty spaghetti bolognese, a little bit of Parmesan, and then that diced basil. And now you're ready for family dinner.
And today, we're doing a dish that would survive a shootout even between Italian grandmas. Is that it?
We're back! Alexa, restart. It's so hard.
Did you just sneeze?
There's a few major do's and don'ts to this recipe. One major do is to make sure and strain out all the juice from your sausage.
Adios.
You filthy bastards! Come here! Come here! Hey, cut this rope off! Get off that horse! Get off that horse!